The president of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, Angel Carbonu, joins us on the phone. We also have Mr. Thomas Kwesi, Esso. He's the executive secretary of the Chamber of Corporate Trustees. He's been on our show a couple of times. And Professor Ransford Gyampo is the general secretary of the University of Ghana chapter of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG. So we have them all on the lines. Gentlemen, good morning to you all.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. But the line is so faint for me, if you can come up a bit.
Is that Angel Carbonu?
Yes.
Oh, okay, Mr. Carbonu, I'll try and speak a bit clearer. Can you hear me a bit better now?
Well, I'll manage it.
Okay, we can hear you very clearly, so just speak as normal. And if I can start with you, what are your general impressions of what the president had to say yesterday?
Thank you very much, and good morning. And I'm very elated to be talking to the most prominent journalists and media practitioners in Ghana this morning. Let me say that there seems to be a point of departure between the position of government and the position of the Ghanaian worker. And I fear to say that it looks as if government is not actually understanding the true feeling and the real situation and circumstances that the Ghanaian worker finds him or herself in the economic situation or the economic quagmire we find ourselves. Now, when I hear the president say that pension funds will not be touched, the fact of the matter is that pension funds are a subject of discussion with regards to the debt exchange program and the economic adjustment that the government is embarked upon. As I speak to you, a meeting was supposed to have been held on Friday, last week Friday. And because of the May Day, workers indicated that they will not be able to attend that meeting. And the meeting is being rescheduled for a later date that will be announced by the Ministry of Finance. What are we going to discuss there? We are going to discuss how government is going to adjust the payment of our pension funds that has been invested. So when the president makes statements that sound emphatic, and then we go back to massage that statement again in an attempt to, let me say, manage the economy of our country, I sometimes get very confused as to what exactly, because this is not the first time the president is talking about pension funds will not be touched, and yet a decision was taken that nearly led to a total labor shutdown in this country. So that is number one. Number two, labor always, throughout history, have made their position known to every government that the outcome of IMF policies do not inure to the benefit of the Ghanaian worker. And indeed, all that government is struggling to achieve now is to get the opportunity to take more loans of about $3 billion. That $3 billion, should it even happen, is not a gift. It alone is going to add to our debt stock of our country. So please, Labour is very against any government that goes to IMF. Government is just, and it looks as if the impression is being created now that to get the IMF deal is an achievement. Please, to get the IMF deal is to bring untold suffering on the Ghanaian worker. That is the fact of the matter. Anytime we get an IMF deal, it brings untold suffering to the people of this country.
Thank you. I want to bring in Mr. Esso at this point because, of course, much was said about pensions and the president seeking to assure that, pensions will be safe. I wonder, from where you sit as, Executive Secretary of Chamber of Corporate Trustees, managing quite a number of these pension schemes and the investments that have been made with them. Are you assured by the president's words?
Thank you very much, Mr. Jansen, and then good morning to your listeners, and good morning to Mr. Carbonu and the other person on the other line too.
Prof. Gyampo.
Mr. Carbonu have laid down the trust or the crust of the conversation. And then, if I want to speak from the perspective of the chamber, what I would say is that we all recognize the fact that pension fund schemes are made up of contributors from both the private sector and then the public sector. Pension fund schemes are made up of contributors from both the private sector and the public sector. And when it comes to these DBEs since December up to now, let me say that the chamber and organized labor have always been having discussions at levels to ensure that all of us in our dealings and contributions are sure, we'll make sure that pension fund schemes are very safe and then will not be affected by the domestic debt exchange program. And so we'll be having these conversations. And therefore, I think all that we are both looking for is to ensure that pension fund schemes or pension fund contributors are not as safe and we don't lose any value, and then we are not also affected by the domestic debt exchange program. And therefore, the discussions with, organized labor is having with the government of Ghana is very important going forward, because of whatever will be the outcome from that discussion will also determine how pension fund schemes are positioned in this current domestic debt exchange program. And so for us as a chamber, we are waiting for that discussion to come to an end. We are waiting for a signal from organized labor saying that we've had a level of agreement with government, and therefore chamber, you also can let's have a discussion about the technical or about the technicalities of pension funds, how to position the pension funds in the domestic exchange program. And so for us here, I'll say that we are only waiting for labor to finish with organized labor to finish with its engagement, and they will give us a signal that we will also have further engagement with them on the technicalities and the position of the pension funds.
Right.
Great. Now, Mr. Esso, listening to you, I mean, you've talked about how you want to ensure that labor doesn't lose value. Now, that gives the impression that, you're probably considering now the government, if I could put it this way, alternative exchange program, which says post-2025, everything that you should have accrued to you is going to accrue to you, so you don't lose any value. It looks like you're considering it seriously, aren't you?
Mr. Wilson, let me put it this way and say that whatever proposal that ever came to the attention of the chamber, definitely we'll look at it from a technical point of view. So before we even take a decision whether to accept or to reject it, you will definitely have to look at the proposal to see how that proposal is situated in the schemes of the objective that pension funds are not going to lose any value. Of course, that will be done, because if you also don't do that technical analysis, then what will be your point of disagreeing or agreeing? And therefore, whatever proposal from day one, December 5th, when the first domestic exchange program was announced, every proposal that came to the attention of the chamber was looked at and the decision was taken. And therefore, we can't say that we will not look at the proposal that is on the table. No, we cannot say that. I think that in that case, then we as professionals will not also have done any good to whatever that has come out. And so, yes, the proposal came like all other proposals, and the chamber also took a look at all other proposals before a decision will be arrived at. But like we've always done with organized labor, the chamber never takes any decision in terms of this pension funds, how to position the pension funds with the domestic exchange program without any agreement from the organized labor. And therefore, yes, the proposal has come. Ordinarily, we are going to look at it and see how it fits into the whole schemes of our objective that pension funds will not lose any value.
So I realize that before we get to Professor Gyampo, on the 5th of December, exchange, you are quick to say, no, we're not accepting this. If you look at that one and you look at this one, which is more better for pension funds? I mean, which is better for pension funds? Hello, Mr. Esso, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Esso, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I was asking, between the two, which is better for, pension funds?
Well, it was clear. On the 5th December announcement, it was clear. It was clear that nobody will accept a zero coupon. It was clear. That one, before anything else, the zero coupon was a no-go area. It was a no-go, and nobody will accept zero coupons. And then there was no clarity, and it was a bit jumped up looking at the tenure of the bills and then the number of bonds and then the stretch of it. For that one, before we all left the meeting at Bank of Ghana, it was clear that was not going to be accepted, and therefore that's why we're so quick. And a lot of discussions have also gone on before then and now. So we are arriving at where we are now. And so yes, that one, I'm sure the media even realized that it was not going to fly in the face of anybody, whatever sector that we were, not even pension funds. And as you know, even the deal that the bankers got, the deal that the insurance got, the deal that the other sectors also got, was not the 0.5 and etc. that was announced on the December 5th. So for that one, it was so clear to everybody that was in that meeting.
So this is better.
That was not going to fly.
So this is better.
Of course, looking at the two and this one, you could clearly see that this is better. This is the better deal. Looking at the first one and this one,
Mr. Esso, if you can turn down your radio, please. We're getting some rather strong feedback. If you can turn down or turn off your radio or walk away from it, please, just so we can hear you clearer. Okay, so please proceed, or have you wrapped up on that?
So I'm using a hands-free.
Okay, so you say this is better, right?
The analysis that we've done shows that this is better. Shows that in the long term, pension funds may not lose any value, but that is not the only factor that we are considering. Also, we are considering other factors also that we think that should inure to the benefit of pension funds.
And what are these factors?
As you go into a domestic exchange program and you are holding an old bond, of course, the uncertainty of that bond is a concern to everybody else, including pension funds, including whoever invested in that bond, including every bond holder. The uncertainty of that bond is a concern to everybody, not only the pension funds. And therefore, you'll be seeking a solution that will address that uncertainty also. So that, whoever you are, we are holding that bond, you ensure that at least you cure that uncertainty, you cure that risk. And that has been part of the solutions that we are also looking forward to have, in whatever arrangement that will come out. Whether the old bond is still the one that we are going to hold, or whether we are going to go into a new bond era, the question of uncertainty, the question of the risk is an issue that is of concern to whoever the bondholder is going to be.
Right. I want to bring in Prof. Gyampo at this point. Prof, thank you for your patience. I want to talk about what Labour said to the president.
Winston, there is something wrong with your line. I'm not hearing anything. If you can increase your volume.
Right. Is this better, Prof? Can you hear me now?
A little better.
Okay. Forgive me. Let me try and speak as clearly as I can. Labour said to the president that he must cut down the size of government. Does this not have a negative effect on Labour?
Cutting down the size of government having a negative effect on Labour. How? I don't understand. We are talking about what Labour has been clear in articulating has been that you look at the size of your government and look at the number of ministries that you have. some countries that are wealthy and more prosperous than us are running themselves about 13 ministries. So there should be ministerial alignment and realignment to cut down, first of all, the number of ministers and ministries that we have. Then from there, you should reduce the size of government. And essentially, first of all, you tackle the appointees that you have by reducing them. And then also looking at the various appointees or appointments that have been made, each and every one of them coming with consultants and advisors to the consultants and special assistants and all that. Reduce all of them because they are all a drain on the resources of the nation. Beyond that, government should find a more effective way of widening the tax net so that the burden that you continue to keep on public sector workers alone in terms of taxation will be reduced, and then you'll be able to generate more income for yourself. Also, government should try and do much to prevent the practice where, as it were, we are always, as a people, fetching water with baskets. The leakages and slippages in the system that all drain resources. Government should tackle. We've looked at so many proposals that we've articulated. It's not only about downsizing and cutting the size of government, but there are so many things that we believe that government can do. And also, it must sacrifice and demonstrate clearly in a manner that makes it palpable for everybody to see and to feel. Now, the government itself is sacrificing and is tightening its own belt. If you do this, and then you ask Labour to also sacrifice, then we'll do. But we've made a lot of proposals. We've said so many things. Government doesn't want to listen and rather wants to come for a pension fund. I think that one, it's never going to happen. And please forget about what the president was saying, that they are going to, we signed an MOA and we all agreed that we're going to work together to provide some sustainable interventions that will help the government, whatever. I mean, we agreed on that. But the proposals that we were thinking about when we signed that MOA have all not been needed to. Everything that we said the government should do and to leave our pensions alone, the government appeared not to be listening. The government wants to safeguard its own pensions and the pensions of its apparatchiks. They are having accounts and keeping their money abroad. We have something little here. You are leaving yours and you want to come for ours. I don't think it's going to work. And also, let us not think so much about. We've moved past the stage where nice speeches are made on the occasion of May Day. The president is a great speech maker. I mean, if it's written for him, he will go and present it nicely. But the point is that we are no longer interested in promises that are made in speeches. We are interested in all that we can do to ensure that our interest is not sacrificed. And the last time I was talking to Labour, I said that it appears that we've allowed unnecessary partisanship to divide our ranks, but that Labour has the needed muscle to flex to ensure that its interest is protected. And so we are calling our members, and for some time now, Labour unions are coming together. And if we come together, no government can stand in our way. Government is saying that they have done enough to protect jobs and to protect pensions, and they've done so much for it. But it's a one-sided view. Labour has also done more than enough to keep productivity going and to be the main source of taxes that finance the entertainment, taxes that finance the allowances, taxes that finance the comfort, taxes that finance the TV, taxes that finance the opulence of many politicians. And so we have done more than enough. And so nobody should make it look like something extraordinary has been done to keep us. Without Labour, there wouldn't be productivity. It's important we make this point clear. And if I heard the head of the trustees of pensions rights, look, nobody is interested in dragging or holding on to a fight that would be inconsequential to our interest. What we are doing
is just to protect and safeguard our interests. If government has a better deal for us, which we doubt, they should sit us down and dialogue with us. Through dialogue, you are able to achieve or arrive at certain consensus. But it appears that this government, one of its deficiencies or its weakness is its inability to dialogue. You want to go for people's money and you cannot even dialogue with them. I mean, who does that?
Prof. Gyampo.
It shows that, look, we are having many challenges and weaknesses in our government system. And so, let us dialogue. If government truly believes that it has something better for us in terms of our pension and safeguarding it, and like I said, we doubt because we fear the Greeks, it must first of all sit us down. You don't do it, meet 1-2 people and then impose something on them. I mean, the money that the trustees manage belongs to labor. And so if you don't dialogue with labor, you would not make any headway and you will not succeed in your attempt to use our pension.
But Prof. Gyampo, it appears that the corporate trustees believe that this deal is better than what was presented to you before.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, Prof. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, I'm just making reference to what Mr. Esso said a while ago, the fact that this deal seemed better than the one presented to you before.
You heard what I said. I said we fear the Greeks. You know that saying? Fear the Greeks when they even come with their gifts. We do not anticipate and expect this government or government to give us anything better without a hidden agenda in a manner that will eventually come to hurt labor. We fear them. And so the point is that if they are genuine about this particular deal, and if this deal seriously in the interest of labor, why don't we sit down and talk? Sit down and let us all go through the technicalities and appreciate the fact that, it is better. If we dialogue, we will be able to arrive at certain consensus. But the fact that you wield power does not mean that you can always be throwing policy. When we signed the MOA, we all said that we will sit down and discuss.
Are you suggesting that you're not talking, the two sides are not negotiating?
Please, last week or so, you heard I was part of TUC, okay, and you heard the statement that was issued. I was part of the technical committee that drafted the MOA, okay, and we know what we put in there. And we said that before we move on, and if you want to move on, we would all sit together and dialogue on other things that the government can do to sail us through this challenge of hard minds. If we find ourselves, we haven't sat down to talk, and then the next thing we see is a letter asking our fund trustees or asking all of us to come and subscribe to a new arrangement. And we said we are not going to allow that. We didn't sit down to talk.
Okay. Let me bring in Joe Carbonu at this point. I'll get back to you, Professor Gyampo. So, Mr. Carbonu, you've heard Thomas Kwesi make the point this is a better one. You had earlier expressed your fears and doubt about how government was going about things. Haven't heard from the management, or the managers of your fund, as in pension funds. Are you a little bit convinced? Do you think you could still go ahead and trust government?
I will agree with Professor Gyampo that you will have to sit down with labor and negotiate, dialogue and negotiate, and come to a consensus. The approach the government used was to go behind. The government signed an MOU with us, and yet went behind us to the trustees, trying to convince the trustees. And that the first meeting that is going to be held was the one attempted to be held last Friday, which we couldn't attend because of May Day in Boga. So if you are genuine and you have clear-minded objectives towards labor, this issue of going behind us, going to see people, look, the trustees are managing our money in trust for us. And on every trustee board are representative of the workers. In fact, the representative of the workers are in the majority. So there is no board of trustees that can take a decision without approval from the owners of the money. You know, my brother, we have seen our senior colleagues go on retirement, and retirement looked like certain death. We have seen very high-level intellectual and skillful persons go on retirement, and they looked as if they've never been to the classroom before and they've never worked before. This is what all of us, including you, and let me commend the media on this pension issue, that you have taken so much interest in it, including all of us. That is why in France today, the streets of Paris is very, very hot. Any well-educated worker should know definitely that in the next few years, his working life is going to come to an end. And he will have to take care of himself through his investment, and the state ought to take care of him because he or she is contributed to the state. It is life and death matter we are talking about. If government is having a clear mind, bring all that you have to the table. We are also going to come with our people. And let me assure you, when Labour is getting to that table, Labour is also going to come there with very well-resourced and well-informed people so that when decisions are taken, we will not be shortchanged under any circumstances.
I mean, talking about they should sit down and discuss with you, and they attempted a meeting. Clearly, Labour by now would have certain proposals. What are you getting to the table with?
Well, we've indicated to government the size of government. And look, when we talk about the size of government, we are not even limiting ourselves only to ministers and deputy ministers. You will be shocked the number of government appointees who are hovering around the public service, some doing nothing. We have situations where fresh graduates, through a certain design, very alien to the public service, have been brought into the public service and have been catapulted to managerial levels. And you will be shocked when we start opening the books and exposing some of these things to you. There are a lot of projects that you and I know are not going to be beneficial to the people of this country. And yesterday, the Secretary General of the TUC mentioned only one, which is the big hole that has been dug near the Parliament House.
Yes, the National Cathedral.
Expensive hole in the whole world. So it tells you that government itself is gotten itself into areas that are not giving beneficial return to the people. So, and then again, we'll look at even the size of ministers, whether we need to have that. Then everybody will know that this is burden sharing. Everybody will know that we are all rallying around the flag in the interest of our nation. One group of people cannot continue to be hewers of wood and drawers of water perpetually.
Okay, so in effect, what you're suggesting is that before you accept any sharing of burden, government itself should also share in the burden.
Oh, we've made this clear to government for a very long time, and repeatedly, Labour has been giving certain conditions to government. But may I ask, my brother, the conditionalities of the IMF, are they alien to any prudent management of any state economy? That we cannot introduce certain measures unless the white man in Washington, D.C. tells us to do so? When we were borrowing money at 27% in the international market, whilst Kenya was borrowing at 12%, could we not caution ourselves that we were pulling our nation down the drain? The people who took the wrong decision, are they being held accountable for the wrong decisions they are taking? Or the moment somebody is elected into office, that person has the license to take decisions nilly-willy? These are some of the issues that we have to look at. So that when people are taking decisions in government in future, they will know very well that the people are going to hold them accountable to it. Today, as I speak to you, the 2022 balance of the various banks are in the negative. And definitely, it's going to affect savers and also affect workers in the bank. Who calls them? Why we know they bring the person where he calls down, say we go punish the person? These are some questions that the common man on the street will want to ask.
All right, Angel Carbonu, thank you very much. I think that's all time would allow us. Thank you also, Thomas Kwesi, who is Executive Secretary, Chamber of Corporate Trustees. And thank you, Professor Ransford, Gyampo, General Secretary of the University of Ghana, Chapter of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, for joining us. Angel Carbonu is President of the National Association of Graduate Teachers.